Boise has been rated many times as one of the top cities in the entire country to retire, but there are some factors that make it not so good for some people. So let's look at the best areas, the housing and 55 plus communities, finances, some of the medical options, and help you decide if Boise is the right place for you to retire. Let's jump right into some of the best areas to retire in the Valley. This is going to be one of the most important decisions you make, is the suburban area that you choose, and it will determine how the rest of the information in this video will come together for you. The number one suburb is probably going to be Eagle, Idaho. Eagle is north of Meridian and about 5 miles west of Boise. Eagle is right on the Boise River, which gives you amazing access to a lot of the Boise Greenbelt. You can go for a walk or ride your bike. There's a number of restaurants and bars to stop at and grab a drink or grab some food. Many of the neighborhoods are connected to the Greenbelt, so if you want to walk right out of your backyard and take an evening walk, or hop on your bike and take a 10-minute bike ride down to Bardney, places like Two Rivers might be a place you want to check out. This is an awesome neighborhood that's right along the Greenbelt. Eagle is also the number one place for retired police and firefighters that are from California, which shows me, and it probably should show you, that Eagle really is a great place to retire. When it comes to commutes from Eagle to the other parts of Boise, this will be where the area you choose might be the most important decision, especially if you have family you want to be close to. You have about a 15 to 20 minute drive into the village in Meridian and a lot of the shopping along Eagle Road. 15 to 20 minutes into downtown Boise. If you have family in Boise, I would assume that they live in either Meridian or Boise. So visiting family and friends with only a 10 to 15 commute is great if you decide you like the quiet, smaller feel of Eagle versus living in Meridian or Boise. There's two major grocery stores in Eagle. There's an Albertsons on Eagle Road that is right in when you're coming into town near downtown Eagle. And then you have a Winco, which is the cheapest grocery store in the Valley and has options for some bulk grocery shopping as well. Downtown Eagle, which is a nice little place to grab a bite to eat or hit some of the shops, is centrally located and is going through some new construction that is really going to add some pretty big amenities and a much larger appeal to Eagle. We haven't quite seen what it's going to turn out to be, but there is some big things going on in downtown Eagle. Now, the downside. With Eagle, you will be spending a significant amount more for the same house you would if you were to buy in Boise or Meridian, around $100,000 more on average. This is largely due to the appeal of Eagle, so you pay for what you get. Some will argue it's overpriced, but that is for you to decide for yourself. With walking trails and waterfront backyards or houses on a lot of the golf courses that are located in Eagle, it is a popular spot to retire. So even if you don't live in the 55 plus communities, which I'll talk about later in the video, you have a lot of options for some great neighborhoods. Another downside to Eagle is some of the medical care access, which I'm going to go into a lot more detail later on in the video. But Eagle is a little bit farther away from some of the major hospitals, as you'll see later on in the video. The next suburb on the list is a hot spot here in the Treasure Valley. You have the Village with the most popular places to shop, eat, grab coffee, do shopping, go to an event or the movies, and just hang out. Kleiner Park is right next door to the Village, which has concerts, a big park, pickleball courts, frisbee golf, ponds to fish at or just hang out and have a picnic, and a great walking trail to just get outside and hang out. But before we get into the remaining best areas of the Valley to retire, my name is Brady Fagel, and I am a Boise local and a realtor in the area. So subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on everything there is to know about Boise and all of the surrounding suburbs. I update you guys weekly, and it really helps out if you subscribe. I'm also here to help you learn and feel confident in your move to Boise. I take the time to get to know you and make sure you end up in the perfect location for you, even if that means Boise isn't right for you or your family. So shoot me a call, email, or text anytime, where I am happy to answer any questions you have, whether you're moving next month or in a few years. let's prepare and put a plan together that works towards the goals that you and your family want. Now, let's get back to some of the most popular suburbs. Meridian has some great 55 plus communities, which again, I'll show you later on in the video. But aside from that, there are a ton of options in Meridian when it comes to housing. You will have walking trails, gyms, pools, and beautiful landscaping in a lot of the subdivisions. Some of the best neighborhoods in Boise are here in Meridian, like Loxa Falls or Bridge Tower. If you want more land, you can look in Spurwing on the golf course, or in South Boise, which is South Meridian as well. There's some more isolated homes and some smaller subdivisions with homes on an acre or more. There's one right down the street from me in South Meridian where there's some walking paths, and you can definitely tell it's more of a retirement community. The houses are on a half acre or an acre, and they have built-in walkways with beautiful landscaping. Meridian's central location also gives you quicker commutes to all of the things to do in Boise. So a problem with Meridian is that the Boise River and the Greenbelt are not in town. So if you want to go walk along the river or bike, you will have to take a drive to either Eagle or Star or go all the way to Boise. But you do get a lot of those awesome neighborhoods. So there's plenty of walking trails. You just won't be able to get to the Boise River. When it comes to medical access in Meridian, you'll have some of the most options here other than maybe Boise. But again, I will show you all of the major hospitals and the small clinics that we have here later on in the video when we go over the medical access. Overall, Meridian is one of my personal favorite spots. No matter what, it is extremely safe, clean, nice. There's awesome landscaping and great subdivisions. Plus you pay a lot less than you do in Eagle and get some of the nicest people here in Meridian. I love the people in Meridian, in the whole valley, but I do love the people in Meridian. And so it's a suburb that you really can't go wrong with choosing. The next suburb we combine because they're right next door to each other in the northern part of the valley and are really fairly similar. So if I say something about one suburb, it's mostly true about the other. But Star and Middleton are very popular places to retire. My grandma and grandpa actually ended up retiring here until my grandpa passed away. And I want to stop and tell you a quick story. My grandma and grandpa retired in Boise almost 20 years ago. And I know it was one of the best decisions they made. They followed my mom here with me, and I can tell you it was the best thing that happened in my life was them retiring here. My grandpa was basically my second father and one of the most influential people in my life. He would not have been a part of my life if he didn't choose to retire in Boise. And I'm telling you this as one of hundreds of stories on why retiring in Boise is such a good idea. You hear stories like this all the time where moving to be closer to family has much more of an impact than you might have thought. Besides the huge influence and all of the memories that were made because of everything, my grandparents loved, and still my grandma does love it here. Before my grandpa passed away, they lived on about an acre in a small subdivision and loved it out there in Star. This is one of the biggest attractions of Star and Middleton for those retiring is that access to the land, the space, and the really small community when comparing it to other suburbs. They're both very small towns in comparison to the rest of the valley. Star only has 2 grocery stores, Albertsons and a Ridley's, and they have a Bi-Mart if you want to count that as one too, while being 20 to 30 minutes away from the major things in Meridian and only 10 minutes from Eagle if you live in Star. Star's River Walk Park gives you great access to the Greenbelt, and you have your own little section of the Boise River in Star. You have fishing, there's a ton of ponds scattered throughout Star and in some of the subdivisions, which is always great for the kids. You have quick access to the outdoors, BLM land. It's a great small town for outdoor lovers, but Star is growing really fast, and I don't know how much longer it will remain the small town it used to be. The benefit to the growth is some of the great communities that Star is getting, like Heron River, or some of the restaurants and things that are coming as it grows. But the communities are great. Heron River is an awesome one, with larger lot sizes and some waterfront properties right on the Boise River. So if you don't want the big acre lots that are in between Star and Middleton or out in the foothills, Heron River, and there's a few others in town of Star, where you have more of a neighborhood community while still being close to the grocery stores and the restaurants. These are great options. And you have a number of similar style communities. There's also a brand new 55 plus in Star called Regency that we'll also talk about in a second. I remember as a kid always complaining about the long drive to grandma and grandpa's house, which back then took half as long because now you have twice as much traffic and twice as much construction. And this is where if you like to go shopping or eat out and are a busy person, Star and Middleton may not be for you. So definitely keep an eye out for that and determine that for yourself. Another downside is going to be the hospital care, because Star and Middleton are in the far end of the valley and it's still growing. You don't have the hospitals and clinics near town that you do in a lot of the other suburbs. The closest hospitals will be in Nampa, on Garrity, or Karcher, which are 20 to 25 minutes. And then they also don't have some of the smaller clinics like an Eagle or a Meridian would have. The last suburb before we get into finances, the 55 plus communities, and the medical care is the Boise foothills. There are pockets in Boise that can be beautiful places to live, places like Cartwright Ranch and Hidden Springs, which is technically not Boise, but we count it as Boise. It's its own little town with awesome houses and community on acreage or in smaller communities. You can be in the north end or subdivisions all up and down the foothills along State Street and into South Boise. Now, Boise is beautiful with mountain views and the Boise River and all of the nice places to live. If you are more adventurous, there are tons of hiking trails right along the foothills or up into the mountains. If you really want to get into the trees and hike in the woods, it's just a quick 30-minute drive outside and you can be there. In the winters, we have Bogus Basin, 45 minutes away or 20 minutes away if you live in Boise. So if you're a skier, you can just run up the mountain to make some runs, which is a really big attraction here. We also have Sun Valley and McCall about an hour and a half away with some world-class ski resorts for your weekend getaway or a day trip in the winter. One of the downsides to winter is, of course, going to be the snow and ice and cold. You will not be retiring on a warm beach like you would in Florida or Phoenix, but what some people do is live here in the warm months and then buy a place in Arizona or Florida for the winter. That's an extremely popular thing to do here. Now, let's take a look at the medical facilities. The major hospitals are going to be St. Luke's in downtown Boise, and there's a St. Luke's in Meridian, and then there's also a new one in Nampa. St. Alphonsus in Boise is kind of by the mall. St. Luke's in Meridian is off of Eagle Road. You have two small hospitals in Eagle off of State Street or Highway 44 or Highway 55, depending on who you talk to. You have a smaller hospital off of 10 Mile in Meridian called Seltzer, although they went out of business, so we will see what happens as they figure out that situation, but as of now, it's still there. And then you have St. Alphonsus in Nampa off of Garrity, and a smaller one, St. Luke's that I mentioned, which is off of the Karcher exit in Nampa right next to the Costco. As you can see from the map, a lot of the better places to live and some of the ones we discussed earlier are going to be around these major hospitals, not out by Star, Middleton, or Caldwell, or even Kuna. Meridian and Boise are definitely going to be where most of that access is, because not only do you have the major hospitals, but you have dozens of surgery clinics, gastro clinics, rehab centers scattered all over Boise and all over Meridian. I can also tell you that the medical care here is pretty good, depending on who you go to. I was extremely sick for a few years and got great care from a lot of doctors here. I personally use functional medicine doctors here in the Valley. Functional Medicine of Idaho is one place that I have gone to. And I've just seen myself and tons of people I know that their approach actually gets to the healing and the root of the problem. So tons of great options here in the Valley, and shoot me a text if you want to learn more about the functional medicine side of things. I'm happy to share and talk about that. Now, when it comes to the 55 plus communities, there are a lot of amazing options. My personal favorite is Trilogy at Valor, which is technically in Kuna. This is a resort style community in Kuna with bocce ball, pools, a restaurant. They're gonna have their own chef where you can take cooking classes eventually. They have a private golf course, indoor and outdoor pickleball courts, and a ton more. It has some of the most amenities out of any subdivision in the valley, 55 plus or not. Another group of 55 plus are the Cadence communities. There is one in Century Farm, which is in South Meridian. There's a Cadence in Paramount in North Meridian, and then there's another in Bainbridge, which is right next to Costco in Meridian off of 10 Mile and Shinden. Most of these will have pools and pickleball courts, but they just won't have the amount of amenities that Trilogy at Valor has. Your homes in all of these will range starting pretty much at 400,000, 420, going up to 700,000, depending on the size of home you're looking for. And most all of these are gonna have townhouse options and single family options up to around 2,200 square feet. This is pretty much true for every single 55 plus in the valley with those amenities and that nice community feel that we're talking about. Another new and very popular community that I mentioned earlier in Star is called Regency at Milestone Ranch. This is a community by Toll Brothers. As I mentioned, Star is one of the most popular places to retire in the valley, and Regency, you get a lot of the same amenities as the Cadence communities, but apparently you also get a lifestyle director. I don't know what that means, but maybe they help you with your lifestyle. Whatever it is, we can look into it. I need to look into that more because I am interested, but it's in Star, which is great. The homes here are around that same price point of 450,000 with the options for 1,500 square feet to 2,300 square feet and the townhomes. But deciding which suburb and area will be what is most important. From there is where we would go into a lot more detail on which 55 plus community will fit your needs and fit your goals. So if you do decide to move here, reach out to me, text me, and we'll go into more detail on some of those to really narrow down what's gonna be best for you. Now, some of the finances when retiring here. Idaho is one of the best states to retire when it comes to finances as well, and it ranked the 4th most affordable place to retire out of all the 50 states. There's no taxes on Social Security benefits, and Idaho has a lower flat fee income tax rate that started in 2023. Plus, there's a little bit of a bonus that Idaho has where it's a $120 grocery tax credit per person over the age of 65. We also have the lowest cost of living of the 11 western states. And as an example, the cost of living in Boise is around 32% cheaper than in Seattle. And even though the housing here has gone up a lot in the last 5 years, it is still considerably cheaper than California, Seattle, or Portland. So you can still find reasonably priced homes here. But choosing where you live, if you decide Boise might be a great fit for you, is the hardest part. We have so many great suburbs and I didn't discuss all of them here. So check out this video here where I go through every single suburb in Boise and rank them from A to F with pros and cons, so you have a better idea of what to expect in each individual suburb and you can make the best decision for you. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for the support and I look forward to meeting you in person.